We are the only airline today that flies directly from Delhi to Bali. From the day we have launched it, most of our colleagues have not got a chance to travel Bali only because there's no seat left by customers.
Oh.
It's all going completely solved. It's a happy thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's,
Because of those capabilities, the integrations, that they actually know that this customer is a premium customer, this is what his area of preference is, this is what he likes. That small nudge makes me feel special.
Hello and welcome to CIO News. I am Khushbu Soni, the founder and chief editor at CIO News. Today I am accompanied with two gentlemen. Today we have Harpinder Singh, the AVP Product E-Marketing and Analytics at Vistara, Tata SIA Airlines Limited. I am also accompanied by Gaurav, the National Business Head, Education and Healthcare at Exotel. Thank you, Harpinder. Thank you, Gaurav, for joining us, agreeing to do this interview with me. Thank you so much for that. Well, today's topic is to talk about decoding enhanced customer experience in holiday season. The whole idea is to talk about customer experience in today's era, and especially where there's a highest demand of experience, feel of experience from a travel industry. Right? So there's a lot of expectations by consumers to have enhanced customer experience in this digital era, right? So I'd love to begin with talking about, first of all, what's connected journey. So maybe if you can throw some light, maybe you can begin, Harpinder, and tell us what is connected journey, and then I'll come to you, Gaurav. Sure.
Behind these very commonly known jargons and buzzwords, connected journeys and related terms, there's a very simple expectation that a customer has. So when we are, as a brand, when a customer engages with me, for them there is no channel differentiation. So you don't expect the brand to be different on a different channel. You expect the brand to be one across all channels. So simply put, that is what is the expectation or the definition that we take as a brand of the connected journey from the standards that we want to set. For us, in-flight experience that we offer and airport experience that we offer is the most loved part that our customers tell us. For us, being able to match that experience of in-flight and on-ground experience with the digital experience is the sort of North Star that we are choosing.
Wonderful. Gaurav, would you like to add to this?
Yes, so like we rightly mentioned, currently in the scheme of things that we have, all the enterprises, they have their independent solutions existing into the ecosystem, but which are very, very siloed. We all have a very primitive kind of a setup. We are doing the needful by sending cross communications to the end customers, but is it actually making sense? Are we doing the right thing? Are we sending the notifications or communications at the right point of time, in the right essence of things? Well, that's a big question mark, and we'll keep on addressing to that. But prior to that, what I would want to draw the attention is that when we talk about the customer experience, I think it's the customer experience management on the whole, which is very, very relevant. Now, I would say the customer experience management would comprise of three things. First, the engagement. Second, the experience that we get out of it. And the third one would be the satisfaction that the end customer or the enterprise get out of it. A consolidated form of all these three things will give the customer experience management. At the core of all of this is that how do we make sure that the customer actually becomes a brand advocate?
Right.
Putting across communications, notifications in the right sphere is only to enhance the experience and move or gel that customer towards a brand advocate, is how I would want this going forward with the sphere and the new technologies coming in. How do we make sure that the artificial intelligence sits on top of all of the communications or the broken channels which exist, integrates it, and gives a seamless experience to the customer? That is my thought around the broken channels part.
Yeah.
Just to add a little, how do I put that across? A usual use case to that is, assumingly, in the case of an airline, that the customer had a bad in-house experience. He's probably not enjoyed the meal, the flavor was not good, or whatever the reason was. He's just stepped out, he's asking for a complaint book. And at that point in time, we sent across a notification to him. Please give us a feedback on the services that you enjoyed and hope to see you soon. The feedback that you will get, the CSAT perspective, would be adverse. Now, how do we make sure that the real-time communication flows which are happening is all integrated into the system in run? Getting it into the system now and then responding to it maybe 24 hours delayed kills the essence. So that is what when we talked about that the broken journeys need to be consolidated enough is what we would like to focus.
Yeah, and also on the last point that you mentioned, that customer would go out and look for a complaint book, or actually call out someone, and then it's one. And the other thing is also would directly go up to Twitter, and now which is called X, would put his feedback up there. It's all on digital right now, and he would just directly put up his frustration, everything up on social media. On that, I would like to personally say that I am a big fan of Vistara because I travel with that airline a lot, and because the experience that I have been seeing across other airlines and now Vistara, there's a huge difference. So, how do you kind of manage the whole customer experience at Vistara? What are some of the priorities that you look at from a customer experience point of view?
In a very concise way, I would say customer is the priority. There is nothing more important than customer and customer experience. The remit that I have is more limited to digital experience than the overall experience. I mean, there are many teams that work on-ground experience and flight experience, the product experience, which is the aircraft and the actual hard product that you get when you travel with us. My area is more focused on digital experience, and that's a big challenge for me as the expectations and the bar is set very high by our on-ground and in-flight services teams. They are doing extremely well. The way I look at it, in the nature of business, we are competing with OTAs, which is MMTs or Yatras, whose core bread and butter is technology.
Yeah.
And while it's difficult to put that sort of an investment of technology into my e-com, because I'm not selling across multiple airlines, I'm only selling myself. But yet I have to compete with them. And even the ecosystem that they have, any of the OTAs is much more evolved and much more conducive for them to offer lower prices. So despite being at best be in a position to offer a competitive price, which would definitely be not lower than what these competitors are able to offer, yet offer an experience which the customers would still pick me as the channel of the purchase becomes really important. Now, this comes into play because essentially this is the KRA that I chase, but in totality, it's the journey that a customer follows as the purchase happens, and then the post-purchase and the recurring long-term relation that I build with the customer. And in that whole life cycle, there are multiple touch points which have to be addressed with the right communication at right point or right channel. So right from our social media posts, which are talking about inspiration for travel, to the right offers at the right time, and giving a very functional yet easy booking journey with the payment options that are relevant for the customers, and then following up with the right communication about updates of regarding the bookings and the travel if there are any changes to it for whatever reasons. And then following up with understanding the experience that a customer had with us post-flight and maintaining that relation with customer. So there are multiple touch points, multiple platforms that come into play, and multiple strategies that have to be looked at from a communication, from a content strategy perspective, and from a marketing perspective. So that's sort of the whole customer experience for me.
Got it. Fantastic. In this whole journey, there is now a lot of involvement of AI, and you spoke about AI, right? So, if you can throw some light of what measures needs to be taken in terms of customers to get real-time updates, fostering a connection based on empathy and understanding, and how does involvement of AI really play a role in this segment?
Surely. So, like you rightly mentioned, the complete customer journey, right from the time when they're looking to book a ticket towards the experience side and the feedback side, AI can actually play a very big role in reducing the friction that we have in the complete. Now, the era is it's all digital.
Yeah.
So the customer will actually log on to Google first to have a view at the prices, and then the booking will start, and then the experience will start.
Right.
Now, how do we make sure that right at the experience is flawless?
Yeah.
AI will definitely help in there by giving it comparison rate and all of those things. Once the booking is made, now there are multiple touch points. How do we make sure that those touch points are addressed to very, very quickly and in real time? Just to quote an example, if the airlines knows that the booking which has been done by its gentleman, the customer, is for business purpose or is for spiritual purpose or if it's a family thing, if at the time of booking they have this knowledge, probably they can make better use of it in runtime. Just to quote an example, if the air hostess is in the flight and is serving, knows that this gentleman is a pure genie, there's no point asking him that. You can only offer him that food.
Yeah.
Or if he's on a business travel, maybe giving him a brochure that these are the areas of interest, these are the business centers, tying up with cab agencies, promoting them, cross sales, all of those things will help. And this all can be done in real time with the help of AI.
Right.
And these are just few of the nudges that we need to do to the system just to make sure that the erstwhile legacy systems, without having to change them, moving the new solutions on the cloud, which is actually sitting with integrations with the legacy system and giving those figures can really help.
But if we can talk about how Vistara is leveraging AI today to enhance the customer experience base.
Sure. AI has been evolving and has been something that we have always been integrating into the overall scheme of things, which we used to reach out to the customers with. In today's time, Gen AI is the bigger buzzword than, and it's kind of overshadowing everything else to do with AI. There's a lot more than just Gen AI that is being used.
Yeah.
So, if I talk about the communication platform or the engine, there is a certain level of recommendation engine that has been built on top of the data that we have. Same goes for our digital analytics triggers. So there are certain triggers that have been set up, to kind of bring awareness on things that are happening across. So all of that leverages a lot of AI. There's a lot of data points that are configured to churn out those triggers for us. Also, when we are looking at customer segmentation and planning our overall marketing strategy, how what cohorts to target, what geographies to target, and what sort of target audiences to reach out to with what communication is also something where there's a lot of input that comes in from the AI technologies that we use. Now, in the current context, which is Gen AI, now for us it's on a couple of sides. One is the outbound communication, where the content generation is really important, and content generation has to be very much relevant and on time, and it has to be personalized, which is where Gen AI could play a larger role.
Right.
While we are not at a stage where we are completely consuming Gen AI based content into our communication platforms, but that's what our roadmap is, and that is what we are working towards at this point. At the same time, there is content that has to be updated very frequently on our website and app. That is more, from SEO, SEM perspective, and also a lot of relevance and contextuality with regards to the time based events that keep happening. There's Holi, there's Diwali, there's a lot of regional events. There's a Taylor Swift concert happening in Singapore. There's so many festivals that happen in UK, France, all the destinations that we fly to. In India, we have a lot of diversity of things that happen on regional basis on across the calendar. So being able to tap into that whole ecosystem and depth of the regional nuances, and bring that into our content in very short span of time, is where Gen AI is playing a crucial role.
All right, fantastic. We spoke about the importance of customer engagement, customer experience, in fact, connected journey. We spoke about connected journey and the role of AI. Right. Maybe if we can touch upon the integration aspect, so in the age of rich media, how do you see visual content of captive customers with holiday offerings, like you mentioned, right? There's so much happening, and for airlines like yours and the whole travel industry, right, needs to be ahead and well planned, right? So how do you kind of make sure that, one, you have the entire consolidation of your customers information, plus also being there with all your marketing programs, marketing campaigns across media platforms. So how do you kind of do that, Harpinder?
So I kind of look at it, this question into two parts. One is the overall impact of and usage of rich media, and how does that impact the journey, and then is the overall scheme of things when it comes to communication. So specifically, when I speak about rich media, my typical thing that I like to check with the person I'm conversing with is how many unread text messages do you have on your phone.
No.
For me, it's typically 4,000 plus.
Yeah.
And that's the case for anyone that I speak with. Anyone who has had their phone for a longer period of time, unless you've just purchased it yesterday,
Yeah.
you'll have a big list of unread text messages. But when it comes to WhatsApp, how many unread WhatsApp messages do you have? It's absolutely none for most people, or at best would be in tens. So that kind of essentially tells us where the engagement is, and sort of trend are we looking at. Also, the amount of and the clarity of communication that can go out on a visually more creative message in an appealing way, and also explaining the right thing in the right way. It's very hard to do it with a text. There's no tone of a text which a visual message can deliver. There's a lot more explanation that can be done using a GIF. Specifically, if I had to tell someone how do you do a web check-in, there's a lot more that I could do with a 3-second GIF, versus I would have to write an essay for him to read, and even that may not completely explain what I want the user to understand.
So true. Yeah.
Same goes for n number of things that we can do in aviation. So our industry is highly regulated. There are so many touch points where different agencies, be it government, be it airport authorities, be it international regulators, that come into play, and things have to be absolutely spot on. And customers' behavior is also sort of regularized from that perspective, and it's our duty to educate the customers, to know beforehand what is expected from them, so that they don't face any challenges in their in-flight or on-ground experiences. So that's where the opportunity exists. From Vistara point of view, we are leveraging WhatsApp at this point for certain communication, and we intend to expand more in that area and be able to give more value. While we are already using a lot of rich content on other channels, which is not exactly the RCM or RCV, whatever is the name of that channel, because the adoption is pretty low for that as of now. Once it matures and it evolves across geographies in India, I'm sure there will be takers for that, and we would also want to leverage it at that point.
Got it. Gaurav, if you can throw some light, you've been interacting with a lot of business heads, in this industry very specifically. What are the key priorities when it comes to customer integration, for them? Well, there are data coming from various platforms. So how do you, kind of see these organizations really coping up with that?
Very valid question. See, all the legacy platforms which are listening into the organization, like I mentioned before, they are becoming a bottleneck in terms of how do we collate all the information at one place. Now, what we try to do is get rid of all of those problems with a single net to joke. You should probably have a partner who might be a little expensive in terms of your usage consumptions, but it is giving you a 360-degree holistic view with an omni-channel feed. Now, your marketing team, your sales team, your customer experience team, your contact center teams, and the other teams on the ground might be communicating to the same set of customers with their independent templates for the messaging parts. whatever gadget that they might be using, with one not knowing what the other one is doing.
Yeah.
If you have a single platform wherein all of such information is available and the customer journey is defined,
Yeah.
that makes the life a lot more easier for the end customer because then you're not spamming him.
Yeah.
And you as an organization have a single leg to show.
Right.
In case of a fault or some timeout, at least you will have redundancies built up into the system itself.
Right.
Currently, what might would have happened is you might have a SMS gateway integration or a WhatsApp integration or a voice integration, different layers with no redundancy at all.
Yeah.
Choosing a partner like Exotel would certainly help building redundancies at each layer. So if WhatsApp is not working, you can immediately switch on to the SMS, all done by the system itself.
Right.
And the integrations are already there. So you don't have to spend time, efforts, especially the tech bandwidth, which is gold dust, in terms of replicating those.
Right.
So one-time effort of integrating and then enjoying the benefits of redundancies would really certainly help. And like you rightly pointed out, see, all of these individual silos, platforms might not have all the capabilities.
Yeah.
But a single platform which is offering the omni-channel plus the AI versions of tonality, sentiment analysis, and all the other new stuff which is actually it's an upcoming trend and it is evolving by the day. Coming up with the concept of contextuality, wherein a single agent might be communicating to a customer over different interfaces and might be like 10 or 15 communications. If the agent has to be updated, he has to go through all of those and then interact with the customer, which is time consuming and might not get the right context.
Yeah.
Now, with the use of AI, you can get all of those contextualized into a 2 or 3 liners. The customer can just read to it, and the system itself is giving you headers. So, a single integration is taking care of all of these aspects, enhancing upon your ROIs, improving the customer experience, because then also the customer is getting the relevant information really helps. So we rightly propagate that you should choose a partner who has all of these skill sets embedded into the platform itself, because your core business is not towards handling all of these parts. Leave it to the specialist. Your specializations should be towards how do I make sure that my revenue from the core sector goes up. Right. What we believe in.
Now, when we talk about customer privacy and collecting the feedback that our focusing airlines focus on that, and with this whole new DPDP Act that the government has got in, how is Vistara really, have you already started working upon it, and where is Vistara currently on this space?
That's a very relevant and important question in today's time. So just to take a step back from just the DPDP Act, which got recently tabled, there is also a GDPR Act which applies in Europe. There's a CCPA that is US, California specific, and there are multiple state level acts in US which are quite strong. From last 4 years or so, we have been strictly adhering to the GDPR guidelines. There's a strong value given to customers' privacy and consent. For all things on marketing side, there is absolutely no deviation from the consent. There is no communication from a marketing standpoint that goes out without a customer's consent, explicit consent for receiving marketing communication from our side. As an airline, we have a lot of data. So some of that is sensitive data as well. So the segregation of data for data management from that perspective, that is built in our core design. The way we have set up our data integrations, that has been designed accordingly. We have spent huge cost, a lot of time to making sure that there is no misuse or abuse of data at any point. Now, just to give you an example of the sort of data that we have, it's because you fly with us, we have your contact information. We have the preferences of food. So which is quite sensitive from a sensitivity point of view. Again, we have your health conditions as well. If you are traveling with a wheelchair or if you have a health condition, you would typically tell it to the airlines. So that there's a lot of sensitive data from that perspective. On top of that, we have the booking channels. the payment methods that you use. That is more from a booking perspective or e-com perspective. We would also know what channels you are booking from, what time you are booking, which geography you are booking from. So there's a lot from that perspective. Then there is complaints and feedback data. You've called for something and an experience that went well or did not go well, all those things. And then there is loyalty data. If you are enrolled with our loyalty program, there's a lot that we know about you: the frequency of travel, the number of points, the partnerships, the other cards that you've mapped to get those points and all that. And then finally, there's your in-flight experience perspective. There's a lot of data. And today's technology offers a lot of other insights as well. You can use the data to see which mails do you open, what sort of content are you liking, which advertisements or social posts do you engage with. On top of that, we also know the sort of behavior. Do you arrive 3 hours early for the check-in? Do you do web check-in or do you not do web check-in? Are you a physical only person? Are you a web check-in person? And are you like always booking on the go? Are you booking a day in advance, or are you someone who prefers to book 5 days in advance, or a week in advance, or a month in advance? So there's a huge set of data from a user level perspective, which comes from different sources. As a business, we have to look at it holistically, but single view is only created at a user level if a user allows us to do that. For each touch point, there is certain level of consent mechanism that has been built in. Obviously, there is some data that we have to retain from a regulatory perspective, which is like the booking data. We have to retain it irrespective of, that's where the consent becomes secondary, but we cannot abuse that data and use it with it in connection or in relation with any other data. So that's how we are functioning from a long time, and we have built our processes around data privacy and data security as one of the core pillars of our whole data ecosystem. Now, coming to the Indian Act, terms that we have understood so far, we have taken some consulting in that space to understand where we might not be complying with the law. While so far we are doing well in that area, there hasn't been any non-compliance that has been reported, but there are certain new areas that have come up. The concept of data fiduciary is something that is very specific to the Indian laws context, and so the roles and responsibilities of being a global data fiduciary by the nature of the business that we have is where we are now stepping into, and where there will be considerably more updates made to our systems wherever required.
Great, fantastic. Maybe would love to hear, what does the future of travel industry and tourism look like from both of you?
It's exciting times, both from the market trends, the geographical trends, and specifically for India as an economy. We are looking, at least in the short 2 to 5 years range, we are looking at a very strong trend which indicates the growth of economy for India in a very strong space. So the travel, COVID had brought up a lot of very, very unique challenges for the travel industry. It was completely kind of shut down for some time. Everyone was in losses. We arguably were the only airline which expanded its international operations during the COVID time. So we grew from 3 international destinations to 14 now. And a lot of this expansion happened during COVID time. So while there were companies and our competition which were cutting corners and even cutting jobs, we were expanding at the same time. Specifically from Vistara context helped us. And with that growth that happened or the expansion that happened during COVID, and now with the demand growing exponentially since the COVID passed, not just for India but for APAC in general, we get Bali flights. We are the only airline today that flies directly from Delhi to Bali. From the day we have launched it, there's hardly any occupancy that gets left. So I'm not sure if you know it or not. We as airline staff get certain benefits. Most of our colleagues have not got a chance to travel Bali only because there's no seat left by customers. It's all being completely solved. It's a happy thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you just
Yeah.
have to take it. In general, the demand for APAC, be it Thailand, be it Indonesia, be it Malaysia, even for Middle East, it's growing considerably for leisure and business alike. And it's not just the demand in terms of low cost demand, even the demand for good experiences is quite high. So we are experiencing our higher cabins, premium economy and business class also going completely busy for these sectors, despite them being competitively a little higher in the price, while that is justified from the product that we offer. But from the trends perspective, it's a little on a higher side. The consumption is on the higher side from what it used to be 5 years back. So earlier, most of the higher cabin traveler was from business travel class, lesser from a leisure travel class, which is now very different. So now
Right.
most people want to have a higher experience. And that is sort of a good byproduct of COVID that we have had. From an industry or a market side, that is where we are going, and it's kind of exciting times. Now, coming from a technology
Yeah.
standpoint, again, with the chat gpt coming into the picture and gen ai taking a huge chunk of attention because of the capabilities that have now been developed, it's again exciting times, because the communications is the core of any business that has do anything to do with hospitality. uh, Travel happens to be one of them, and dynamics of travel industry or aviation industry have so many variables that are communication has to be constantly readjusted and updated to keep the customer informed at right touch point or the right content on right channel with very precise updates which may be coming from a very separate or different system. So all of that has to be integrated, information has to be pushed real time on the right channels, and that is where gen ai is going to play a crucial role. And there are numerous use cases that are coming up. Everyone is being reading about it, has some ideas. There are discussions that happen, then you have to evaluate whether it's going to work or not work, or what are the side by side impacts of that may happen. The future is looking very, very exciting at this point from tech standpoint as well.
Sure. Gaurav, if you can throw some light, how Exotel is playing in this space, and what are some of the use cases that Exotel has for the travel industry? If you can share that.
So I'll just add to what he added upon. I think the new segment of customers which have actually started traveling more by air is the new middle class, the upper middle class, and the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys. They have evolved themselves towards more air travel rather than the air and the road travel. The road travel is actually on a decline, is what we've observed. Having said that, Gen Zs and Gen Ys, which is the upcoming segment in the Indian economy, with 35 or 40% of our population belonging to that category, they are heavily banking and tilted towards the experience side of things. Now, how do we make sure that we're talking to them in their language, at their speed, because they are not voice people. They are people who want to communicate at their own time. They might not have any work, but still they are the busiest people on earth. Interacting with them is only in their sphere of time. So, with the use of AI, is what we are trying to evolve. That how do we solve that particular problem? The asynchronous communication. Gone are the days when people were only talking in the synchronous terms, that you pick up a phone, you make a call and talk. The new generations are not talk people, they are chat people. How do we make sure that we are moving in that direction, giving in the right experience? And when I'm talking about the experience, I would want this to mention it here. I was on a long haul flight, and when I was traveling, and I was not in the premium segment, I was just sitting in the ordinary segment and just trying to make myself comfortable. I was watching Sherlock Holmes, and suddenly the air hostess, she comes to me, and I being a premium member, so she has my history and all of those things available. She comes to me and says, "Sir, since you're watching this, it'll be really nice if I could give you some champagne or with some chips. You'll really enjoy more." And I was a little surprised that how does she even know? But then when I go back and analyze, I can relate to it that it's because of those capabilities, the integrations, that they actually know that this customer is a premium customer. This is what his area of preference is. This is what he likes. So, and that is the experience. Now, that small nudge makes me feel special, will have a special preference for that particular airline for that matter, or for a hotel, or whatever that is. In the hospitality sector, this really adds a lot of value. Our endeavor is that how do we make sure that such nudges become a thing of a daily routine when anybody or everybody from the organization is engaging with the customer, they are given those triggers in real time with the use of AI, which we gather from the various integration and systems, is what we feel is important, and the world is moving in that direction.
That is so fantastic. I mean, imagine being treated in a way, because today everybody is so much their own challenges, or something or the other is going on, and then you have that kind of experience, you receive that kind of experience when you travel or when you stay, etc. I think it does create a good value. While there is a lot of talk about challenges with AI, but if used right, I think there are a lot of benefits that we as humans can really avail out of. Okay, now this is an interesting segment where we're going to be doing a rapid fire. Okay, so I have 5 questions for both of you. I'm going to start with you, Harpinder. How often do you travel in a month?
For business, once. For personal travel, at least thrice.
Wow, okay. What is one thing you expect to be the best when you book your travel?
It's specific to booking, right?
Booking, yeah, and you can also mention then during the travel, yeah.
It's the overall experience. On-time performance is really important, and the in-flight experience has to be spot on. So that's the most essential. The warmth of the crew and the communication about the whole piece, pre and post the flight, is really important for me.
Got it. Do you always prefer Vistara airline when you travel?
I do, and by the way, we do have some staff benefits as well, so that helps.
On the roll. Okay, great. One good thing about Vistara, and one thing that you are looking at improving at Vistara, being a business head and also as a traveler.
There are many good things that I can talk about, but again, our biggest plus point is the in-flight experience. Our crew, our ground staff, is the ultimate USP that we have. There's a lot of focus and value that we keep on them, so that there's nothing that comes more or bigger than that. In terms of what I would want to maybe do more, and I would not say that is what competition is doing, but I would want to do, we have been doing a lot more than what our competition does, but still there's a lot that can be done on the AI front, and that is something that is in our roadmaps.
So you already answered my last question as to what you would like to do better than what your competition is already doing. So AI, I get the answer. All right, the same rapid fire for you, Gaurav. How often do you travel in a month?
Fortnightly for business.
Okay.
Personal, once a month.
Okay. What is the one thing that you expect the best when you book your travel and when you're in your travel?
I think it has to be the experience matched with the cost.
Okay. Do you prefer Vistara airline?
Yes, but it has to be competitive in the cost terms,
Okay.
whether it's business or personal brand.
All right. One good thing about Exotel, because you represent Exotel, one good thing about Exotel and one thing you're looking at improving at Exotel as a business head and as a traveler.
So, good thing, the multiple, but from the conversation point of view, I think we're probably the first organization that is working towards evolving the contact center cloud communication space with artificial intelligence as an embedded feature into the product. What other people or the competition or the market is doing is they are integrating those, but we are building it in-house on top of our products, and we're probably the first in the emerging markets to be doing so. That's a big plus point because we already are masters in the other parts, having redundancies. So adding on top of that really makes a lot of value add to the end users and enterprises.
All right.
And one thing which I would definitely want to expand more legs into the industry, into the enterprises, and be one of the most preferred partners, because there are certain challenges in terms of cost, because when we offer services which are premium, definitely the cost angle comes in, but how do we mitigate that and evolve together? be working in that direction.
I think cost is something that comes
Resonates
everywhere.
everywhere.
One thing about competition that you would like to incorporate at Exotel?
I think we're already far ahead of the competition. So honestly, they'll be copying us rather than we copying them.
But then it was a fantastic conversation with you both. Thank you so much once again for joining me on CRU News and sharing your valuable insights. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.